Hello everybody, my name is Benny and welcome to The Fool's Apprentice. Today is hashtag Saturday, spirit fingers. I have a good hashtag today. I'll talk about that more in a moment, but first let's get that video rolling. Hi everybody. I know that I get like super excited for hashtag Saturdays with my whole intro, but I really enjoy hashtag Saturdays. Like the whole process of it. Like I have a little booklet. I should have brought it to show you. I have a little booklet with all these hashtags from years ago to present time. And then I'll go through videos. And so I get to see a whole bunch of different hashtags. So I find that very like enjoyable to do, just the process of it. And then depending on my mood, I kind of figure out which one I want to do. And today we have one from Mary Grace Farrun. Generally, she goes by Mary Grace. And this hashtag is 13 Real Tarot Questions. Real. And she talks about, questions that she really wants to know, questions she wants to see from other people, not what she calls constructed hashtags that allow people to, showcase their decks, which I understand, which I also do. But I like the questions. A couple of them don't really pertain to me. But it had me thinking, critically thinking. And so I thought it would be a really good one to do for today. Now, we'll say that it's past 10 p.m. on a Saturday, so it still counts as a hashtag Saturday. Today's been a whirlwind. But without any further ado, let's get into these questions. So the first question is, what is tarot to you? And I find this to be a very interesting question because it is so broad and open. And so I didn't really want to sit with all the questions, and so I haven't even read them all because I really like to have an in-moment answer and really think about what the question is truly asking me. And I don't want to filter and make it a perfect answer because I don't feel that's like really authentic, at least not for me. So what is tarot? Well, I was thinking that really tarot is like a guide. It's a teacher. It's something that can clear a path or shed light to a path that you may or may not want to take. And I was thinking about my name for my channel, The Fool's Apprentice, which really was about learning from the tarot and the fool as he goes through his journey. But the tarot within itself is, I'm always learning from it. And so there's that apprenticeship. And sometimes I get very surprised, but its main role in my life is to help me become a better human being in the days that I work with the tarot. And so I might ask a question like, how can I be of better service to my coworkers? And so obviously that's during the work week, and I really keep that in mind. One of the things that I do is that I post my readings on Instagram because I can go back for the reading of the day. And it's kind of like my way of journaling. I'll sit and do the spread and I'll sit with it and I'll do my reading. Then I summarize it for Instagram because it's too big. But I find that the tarot really also is a spiritual guide because I really do use it spiritually as well. How can I better connect with my spirituality? How can I use this spiritual teaching in my day-to-day? And so I use it for work to be a better employee or a better manager. I was a director of social services at a psychiatric hospital once, and I had a really difficult meeting that I had to have with an employee, and its employee was quite combative. And so I really pulled on the cards. And right before I walked into the meeting, I sat with what the cards told me. And I mindfully applied that during the meeting, and it turned out great. So really, the tarot is a guide that I learned from, that helps me see what I need to see in the moment, that I can utilize to make life better, easier, make wiser decisions for myself. So that's what the tarot is for me. Question 2. Do you read for yourself or others? Obviously, I do read for myself. I try to read at least 5 days a week. Some days I'm great, some days I'm not. I generally don't read for myself on the weekends, because the weekends are just really about me relaxing as much as possible and kind of breaking routine where I can just do what I want to do when I want to do it. I tend to do my readings in the morning, so I don't want to get up and have that be the first thing that I do. And also, in the morning, what I do is I meditate for a little bit before I pull the cards. I have read for others, and I have found some experiences very moving, very eye-opening, and others just very blah. Like, there wasn't really a lot of energy. There wasn't really a great reading. The reading made sense. The querent really didn't feel that it made a difference for them. Checked in a week later, still the same thing. But then I had another querent where I made a very surprising reading, and it turned out phenomenal in the long term. So yes, I do read for myself, and I do read for others on occasion. Question number 3. With what frequency do you read for yourself? My goal is 5 times a week. On average, I would say 3 to 5 times a week is normal for me. Mondays tend to be the easiest because it kind of sets me up for the week. And let's say I don't do Tuesday, I still got that reading that I can rely on to get me through that next day. I do find when I skip days, I feel off in my day. So that ritual really works for me. So I really, really try to stick with that. Now, I did practice doing some readings in the evenings and found that to be helpful in reflecting for the day. I find that still very uncomfortable for me, kind of trying to use tarot as a way to reflect. I tend to do the reading, try to live it through the day, make decisions based on it. And then I reflect on how I did that day based on the reading in the morning. And so the frequency for the night times it doesn't happen very often. I usually would do it for a week or 2 and then go months without doing it. Number 4, what type of readings do you do? I like to do a lot of open readings. Like how can I be, let me see. How can I be of service today? Or what can I do with my brother that will make him feel loved and appreciated? Or how do I, incorporate spirituality throughout the day? And I find that to be very, very open compared to, I'd like to be able to buy my brother this gift. Would this be a good gift to give? It's just too narrow for me. Excuse me. I have a cough drop. I have a cough. I have allergies. But I have used recently, within the last year, used tarot to do some grief work. And I'm having to do that again. Precious, my dog, for those of you who don't know, died last October. And that was very, very difficult for me. And I had a really hard time trying to access my grief because I frankly didn't want to. And as a mental health therapist, I know that that's not healthy. So I used 2 decks to help me process my grief. And I came up with a way that really worked for me. I made videos of that, so you can actually go back and try to find it. Or I'll link it below if I remember. And within the last month, one of my younger brothers died, and there's a lot of other emotions going on that I didn't expect, and my grief process is really not what I expected it to be. And in fact, Lisa from Mythical Witchery did a video on the Grieving Tarot, and I thought that that would be a really good thing for me, so I purchased it. It's beautiful, and if you want to see a really good walkthrough, Lisa does a phenomenal walkthrough of this one. And so I'm going to be coming up with some spreads because I need to process my grief, which is happening, but I don't know. Like I said, there's other emotions that I'm more afraid of or hesitant to experience, and they need to be processed. And so I'll be doing that. And really, nothing's really off limits for me. I use a lot of my readings for, one of the really cool ones that I do, maybe I'll do a video on this, is I will take famous quotes from famous religious leaders like Mother Teresa, Jesus Christ, the Dalai Lama, Mother Mary, St. Jude, Gandhi, just very famous people, St. Augustine, and use that quote to create a spread. And that's a very intentional spiritual practice that I do from time to time, especially during December. That's a lot. 5, what do you typically consult tarot for? When I consult, this isn't those open, the way that I'm understanding the question, this isn't my normal open readings. These are things that I feel I need answers because I don't have clarity, or I'm stuck between two solutions that I don't know which way really to go, and I feel stuck. And so I've done one on forgiveness. I've done one on forgiveness, resentments. I've done one on jobs, education. So things that I feel I need to do. I've done one for me regarding processing my health anxieties, because I have some serious health issues. So those are the kinds of things that I consult. Things that there are questions and there are answers, but I feel stuck in which direction to go. And so the tarot really clarifies, what I really need to do. And it works out. It's amazing how, the tarot finds a way with using our subconscious and stuff to really figure out the right answers for ourselves or for myself. Number 6, how do you classify yourself as a reader? Figurative, liberal, by the book, experiential. I think I'm because I don't know all the cards really well. I'm a combination. I try to go by the book, but I'm not tied to those definitions only. A good example I think is the 5 of Cups, which is my favorite card. There's a lot of despair and, barriers and suffering in that card. But for me, there's also a lot of hope in that card. And that's where the experiential comes in from my own personal life. And I really use my personal experience in life to help me with defining the cards, their meaning generally by the card itself, but also with the cards next to them and on the question. Because I can pull the 5 of cards on a single pull, and it can mean one thing based on the question. I can pull 2 cards, and based on the second card being the first or the before or after the 5 of Cups, that could be a completely different reading, even though it's the same question. So I'm a mixed bag, and I like being able to use my personal life experiences in working with the tarot. I think that's what makes the tarot work for me as well as it does. I think if I stayed very rigid with it means this and this only, I would lose a lot of nuance that I think would be important in being able to read the tarot for myself and others. What type of questions did you ask, tarot? I've already shared that with you. Any other questions that I've asked that I haven't really mentioned? Questions I don't, well, we won't go there. I think that's another question. But you get a sense of the kinds of questions I use. A lot of them are self-actualization type of questions. And then, hey, what types of questions you never ask tarot? I really don't ask tarot about health. I mean, talk about my health anxieties, but I don't ask, like, I've had multiple cancer diagnoses. Something's off, I would never ask the tarot, is it, do I have a stage 1 cancer diagnosis right now? Do I have cancer? Do I have an ailment that I should go see the doctor right away? I would never ask those questions. I listen to my body. I pay attention to what my body's saying, and that's where I take my answers from. Mental health wise, I do use tarot for like grief, gratitude, anxiety, depression, those kinds of questions, but for me only. I would never, if someone came to me and asked me if they're dealing with depression, I may know the answer based on all the questions I may ask, but I'm not their clinician. I am not in the role of a therapist in that moment. I'm in the role of a tarot reader. So never, ever would I dare try to use the tarot for a mental health question for someone else, because I could create a lot more damage mental health wise than I could good, because I don't have the whole backstory. I don't have a full assessment that I would need to take. I don't have evidence-based questionnaires that specifically deal with the challenges that they're facing. And so for me to answer a question with the tarot without knowing all that other information is something that I think ethically and morally for me is absolutely wrong, period. I know that there are readers out there that do that. I don't live their ethical life. I don't live their moral life. Everybody, answers to themselves. But for me, that is something I would never do. Pregnancy, future. I don't really do the future readings. Those are a little sticky. I like my reading that I did with the combative employee. That felt like a future reading of what I needed to do in the meeting, but I did the reading in the morning, like 5 hours before. So that felt like a future reading, but I don't really do future readings like, will I meet a man this year? Will I get pregnant this year? Will I win the lottery? Will I find a better job? Will, my kids be successful when they graduate high school this year? I don't do those kinds of readings because I don't feel I'm experienced enough. And I don't know if I've, fallen hook and sinker into believing that that's possible. But then again, it could be. There are people who do future readings all the time. And I'm just not there yet. Maybe one day we'll see. Oh my God, let me see. God, this feels very like therapy, right? Kind of very intense, very critical thinking. What do you think you're engaging with when you read tarot? I think I'm engaging with the energy of the world and the universe. If I'm reading for somebody, I'm engaging in their essence, in their spirituality. With me, my subconscious, my spirituality, definitely. I really believe there is this energy that works with me and the tarot that helps come up with readings that are beneficial. I've never really had a reading that I can think of that's backfired in any way, shape, or form. I have readings that, nothing really happened, but I've never had a reading where anything negative occurred at all. So, whatever is out there, whatever we call it, your God, your higher power, your spirituality, your essence, your soul, all of that, your aura, I think that's what I'm engaged in. Let me see. What knowledge do you apply to tarot? I think mostly is what I'm learning from the books, from watching others read, from my experiences with the deck. Like I said, my own personal wisdom and life experiences. Numerology a little bit, but I don't think of it a lot usually. I do look at the suits, like are there more cups than there are swords? Are there 3 of the suits and one's missing? What I look at, like, what does a reading kind of look like, based on just the elements. I don't do that a lot. Usually it's when I think of it or something stands out, but I don't have like the astrology, like deep knowledge of numerology, some psychology probably, because I do use a lot of evidence-based modules for therapy in my readings. So a lot of psychology for sure. Not really mythology or astrology. Astrology is over my head and really doesn't hold interest for me. So it's probably not something that would ever really be incorporated in me applying that knowledge to tarot. Number 11. Where else in your life do you witness tarot? Well, that's an interesting question. This is one that I did think about because it was one of the ones that I had read that I found intriguing. I witness tarot in every aspect of my life because I'm always asking questions about different parts of my life. My relationships, my intimate relationships, my career, my friendships, my personal well-being, my mental health, tarot, my collection. But it's based on the reading. What I feel more attuned to is how I see my life in the tarot. That's really how the tarot kind of works for me a lot right now, is I can pull a card and I can quickly associate it to a part of my life that's I've already experienced. And that helps me in being able to do my reading. So I really see a lot of my life in the tarot, but I see tarot in my life when I've done a reading. I've also seen like tarot t-shirts and stuff, and I'll sit and pause and I wonder, seeing it, like, is there something I should be mindful of? But nothing's ever like come from that. Number 12, we have 2 more. Number 12, have you experienced where tarot has predicted the future? How did you feel? Okay. Yes and no and yes. So again, I'll use the example of that combative employee. That did show up for me, and it happened exactly pretty much how the tarot said it was going to happen if I did the things it told me to do. And that was amazing. But more profound is I had a woman who had was going on a date with another person, another woman, and she wanted to know what she should do with in the relationship. Like, how should what's important for her to keep in mind when she's on this date and, dating this woman. And I was doing, and I tend to sit with the cards and I tend to really like look in my mind and I can see like a real, like a mini movie of things with words and stuff. And then all of a sudden, I felt like I was no longer present, like I had been whisked away, and I was hovering above her, over her on her deathbed. And she was very content, very happy. And then there was a woman in the room. But it was so peaceful. And it was just a split second. And then I came back and I was like, wow, that was weird. And I had trepidation in sharing that information with her. But basically, I shared that, if she wanted a relationship to work out, particularly this relationship, she was going to have to allow herself to be vulnerable based on the cards. And I don't remember the cards. But the big thing was being authentic and vulnerable. And I could see that, she just got a little tight with that. Because I felt her energy was that really wasn't her. She was very guarded and measured, I think, when it came to dating. And then I contemplated, do I tell her what I saw, what I don't see? And it related to what I had just told her. And I told her, I said, I'm apprehensive to tell you this, but I think it's related. I'm sure it's related to what I just told you about being authentic and vulnerable. That if you live by your true self, your authentic self, and you allow people in, you'll find yourself one day, on your deathbed, content and happy with the life that you've lived. And then I told her what I saw. And then I ended up moving jobs, but we kept close together. And then all of a sudden, before I knew it, a year had passed and they were engaged to be married. They're married now and they're happily ever after. And they seem so comfortable and content with one another. And you can tell the deep connection that they have when I see them interact. I'm so sorry. So I think that was the moment when I truly believed in the tarot wholeheartedly. And by then I've been doing tarot maybe a year and a half. So that was a pretty amazing experience for me. That really just shifted my whole view with tarot and how I work with tarot. And the last question, if you have a magical practice, how does it fit into it? I don't have a magical practice. And I don't think I ever will. I don't think that's where my spirituality lies. I do have a desk, an old-fashioned little desk, where the top comes down. And I have 4 paintings that I commissioned of religious icons that speak to me, that I wholeheartedly believe in. I got to get one more. And that's where I do my readings and my studies, other than this office. So that's not going to be something that I think will ever happen for me. Well, that was interesting. A lot of stuff came out, stuff I didn't think I would share. I like this one because this one really had me critically think. And while I was sitting here reading them and talking to you, I'm processing the question. I'm feeling the emotions that are coming up and trying to take both of them and verbalize them in a way that makes sense to you so you can get the best kind of idea of what my answer really is to the question. But wow, I think this is, of the hashtags I've done, has been like the deepest one that I can recall doing, that really kind of spoke to me as a tarot reader like what's my purpose with tarot? Why do I do tarot? You know, is tarot part of my life, which it is. I think tarot moving forward will always be in my life. I have all these decks. I got decks in my closet. So, and I find it extremely useful. Okay, guys. Until next time, my name is Benny. I am the Fool's Apprentice, and have a good day, or actually a good evening, because it's, oh my God, it's 10:46 p.m. Bye.